am ready when you are. And when I say go, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, shit. He's catching me. No, he's not. Oh my God.
And as you can see, I can't even catch up to that prime that's in front of me. That's a little embarrassing. I have to admit that. I did floor it. I only saw was this big cloud of smoke from your car, and I couldn't catch up.
That's hilarious. Go Rav.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. You know, if you guys are a huge Toyota fan, I have a really big treat for you because I have in my possession 2 of the quickest accelerating vehicles that Toyota currently makes. One of them, of course, you probably know, it's the 2021 Toyota Supra. This one here is actually the 2-liter 4-cylinder model, but I also have a 6-cylinder that I'll have in the video later. And then of course, right behind the Supra is my car that I bought 2 months ago. It's a 2021 Toyota RAV4 Prime. I know what you're probably thinking, you can't compare a Supra to a RAV4. However, Toyota says that RAV4 Prime behind me will get to 60 in around 5.7 seconds, while this Supra here, the 4-cylinder, will do it in 5.2 seconds. So I thought while I have the 2 vehicles here, let's go over kind of the old way of going fast and of course the new electrified way of going fast. And we'll see if Toyota is actually building cars that appeal to enthusiasts yet again. Hey guys, before we get started on the video, I want to tell you about this incredible opportunity to win this custom-built brand new Ford F-250 Power Stroke and $20,000 in cash. This brand new truck has been fully customized by our friends over at LGE CTS, and like I said before, it will include $20,000 for you to spend in whatever way you want. I actually had a chance to drive and film the latest F-250 Tremor earlier this summer, and let me tell you, it was one bad-to-the-bone truck with its 475 horsepower, Godzilla-powered gasoline V8. The one you'll have a chance to win, however, will be even more powerful with its torque-rich 6.7-liter turbo diesel V8, making over 1,000 pound-feet of torque. It's capable of towing over 15,000 pounds, and with its spacious and leather-lined cabin, large panoramic sunroof, and easy-to-use Ford Sync 3 infotainment system, you won't be giving up any of today's luxuries even though you're driving a truck. All you have to do is visit omaze.com/RRF250, where you can also support a great cause like the First Responders Children's Foundation. For nearly 20 years, the First Responders Children's Foundation has provided financial support to children who have lost a parent in the line of duty, as well as families enduring significant hardships due to tragic circumstances. Your generous donation to this great cause will automatically enter you for a chance to win this custom-built F-250 and $20,000 in cash. So please be sure to visit omaze.com/RRF250 to enter. And now, let's get back to the video. So here's the cool thing about driving a Toyota Supra, even the 2021 model. This car has been out for 2 years now, and it still amazes me how many people notice this thing. I mean, not just Toyota owners, other Toyota people. I mean, they're probably the ones who notice this car the most. But I constantly get thumbs up. You constantly want people, or people want to get closer to you just to get a closer look at this car. No. He doesn't know it's the 4-cylinder.
What?
Even this 4-cylinder model that I've switched to, there's very little indication that to let buyers know or let people know that this is the 4-cylinder. I mean, aside from the smaller wheels and tires, the non-Brembo brakes, the slightly different exhaust tips at the rear, nobody knows this Supra is down, 130 horsepower compared to the 6-cylinder model, which was the yellow one that I was driving. Now I've got this red one, this red 4-cylinder. However, the 4-cylinder Supra does have a little bit, or is at a disadvantage, because for how this car looks, Toyota says it'll get to 60 in around 5.2 seconds, which is fast. However, when you've got a Toyota RAV4 Prime that'll do it in 5.7 seconds, it makes me wonder, could something like that actually embarrass a 4-cylinder Supra at a stoplight drag race? Not that you should be doing that on public roads. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking. So when you make a claim that these are the two quickest accelerating cars that you currently offer, let's see what's powering these vehicles. Let's start with the Supra, of course. You guys know this car is built by BMW. This one here has a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. You also can get a 3-liter turbocharged straight 6, which is more befitting of the Supra name. But as you can see, this 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder is a BMW engine. Again, it makes 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. It all goes out through a one-choice only 8-speed automatic transmission. There's currently no manual transmission available on the Supra, but Toyota says that that could change in the next year or so. They're just kind of waiting to see if enthusiasts are going to cry loud enough. They could easily put a manual, hopefully with the 6-cylinder, but probably with the 4-cylinder. Supras, again, are all rear-wheel drive. The 4-cylinder does lack the limited slip differential that you get with the 6-cylinder, but despite, you know, the reduction in power, you should still get to 60 in around 5.2 seconds with the 4-cylinder. It weighs around 200 pounds less than the 6 at around 3,100 pounds, and fuel economy is not bad. It's rated at 25 in the city, 32 on the highway. Now you're probably thinking that is a wonderful powertrain, but what the heck do I have a RAV4 here comparing with a Supra? Well, again, it's not necessarily a comparison. Whew, sorry about that. The RAV4 sadly does not have a strut like the Supra does. Instead, I have a prop rod, so I had to kind of put the camera away while I get this hood up. Now, obviously, the powertrain is completely different in the RAV. This is an all Toyota powertrain. So technically, I could say that the RAV4 Prime is the quick accelerating vehicle that Toyota technically actually makes. And the funny thing is that Supra has a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder. However, the Prime offers up 302 horsepower. That's right, 302 horsepower. This has 52 more horsepower, or around 47 more horsepower versus the Supra 4-cylinder. Obviously, the 6-cylinder Supra is going to offer 382, but the fact that we've got a crossover here that's designed to haul your family around that has more horsepower than a Supra is just kind of showing the kind of time that we live in. Now, obviously, this gets to 302 horsepower with several different powertrains, or with several different propulsion sources. You've got a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder that you can see right there. It runs on the Atkinson cycle. It makes 176 horsepower on its own. Now, it's aided by 3 electric motors, of course, with the Prime, and it has an 18.1 kilowatt-hour battery pack. The electric motor adds another 177 horsepower and 199 pound-feet of torque. Now, when you do the math, Toyota says you get 302 combined horsepower, up to 42 miles of all-electric range, and 40 in the city, 36 on the highway, 38 combined if you guys are going to run this as a regular hybrid. Now, that is 10 mpg better versus the Supra, which again, this isn't a comparison test, but it kind of just shows you, where Toyota is going with technology nowadays, how this vehicle here offers the performance and just the electric only range, and of course the fuel efficiency that, enthusiasts are kind of demanding nowadays, especially with the world of electrification. Now, it all goes out through an eCVT, a CVT transmission, and Toyota says, like I said, 5.7 seconds to 60. The beauty about the Prime is it can tow a maximum of 2,500 pounds, and the Prime is really heavy compared to the Supra. It weighs around 4,300 pounds. It makes it around 400 pounds heavier versus just the standard hybrid version. So one of the beauties about an electric car is being able to charge from home. Now, of course, the RAV has an 18.1 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which means it takes about 12 hours to charge if you guys are charging on a standard 120-volt charger, or about 4.5, or if you guys go for a level 2. Mine, because I bought one that has the 6.6 kilowatt-hour quick charger, can recharge the battery fully in about 2.5 hours if you have a level 2. And as you can see, I have the vehicle charged right now at my home. This is all, of course, very different from the Supra. If I unlock the car, or if I try to pull the cord out right now, it won't let me because it's locked. So what I have to do is I actually have to unlock the car. You heard it, it actually released the charge cord. You can see the RAV4 uses a standard J1772 charger. There is no option to DC fast charge this vehicle, and it's not really needed because it's a plug-in hybrid and not a full EV. I'm hoping to eventually get a level 2 charger installed, but it's not really needed again on a plug-in hybrid. Maybe when I get a full EV, I'll probably consider adding one into my garage in my new home. And you can see the car will always tell you how long it's going to take to charge. If I also leave the charge door open, it tells you that as well. And it also tells you it stopped charging because I pulled the cord. And unlike the Supra, there is no very nice engine starter noise because remember, this is electric. It's a plug-in hybrid. So instead it just kind of whirs to life and it just says ready right there. And as you can see, we have nearly a full charge. It's like 3/4 of the way. It's showing 28 miles of range. If I turned off the climate control, it actually adds 4 more miles, but it's very cold outside. You can see we actually just got a little over a foot of snow here in central southern Pennsylvania. This car, again, I actually have owned it for almost a month, and I actually haven't put any gas in it. It's still showing 3/4 of a tank. Now, one of the cool things about the RAV4 Prime is as long as the battery pack has some charge in it, whether it has, a full charge or just like 10% charge, it will run on full electric power alone, which is different versus any other plug-in hybrid that I've driven. I'm talking primarily about the Volvo plug-in hybrids. Well, even though the battery is fully charged, the gas engine will still come on from time to time to assist the powertrain whenever you give it heavy throttle. Whereas in this car, it will stay in electric only mode entirely, even if my foot goes straight to the floor. And that's what really impressed me about the Prime. Now, obviously, getting into the Prime after we just drove the Supra, they are two completely different vehicles, clearly, but they also feel like they're built from two completely different companies, because obviously one is built by BMW with a Toyota badge on it, with Toyota's little magic, of course, touching it and making a few small changes. But this car, in general, feels like new age Toyota, whereas Toyota is trying to shed their reputation of being a stodgy, boring transportation appliance. The RAV definitely has those key attributes that Toyota buyers love so much, but it does add a healthy dosage of sport, performance, practicality, of course, and just a futuristic feel, because here I am driving this, SUV that's a plug-in hybrid that drives on electric power alone, and this car actually gets a lot of attention. A lot of people are so shocked to see that it's all electric. They want to hear more about it. They want to know all about it, because Toyota sells, 450,000 RAV4s every year. And this is exactly why, because look at the road I'm on. We just got a little over a foot of snow here. And no, I'm not going to take the Supra out in this because it has summer tires on it. The RAV has the factory-equipped Yokohama Avid GTs, which are an all-season tire. Not the best tire for something like this. The RAV has, again, 8.3 inches of ground clearance. We've got all-wheel drive, which is standard, which is not something you can say about the Ford Escape hybrid, which doesn't offer all-wheel drive. So that's what makes the RAV fairly unique, because you can drive it in these kind of situations, and it's all on electric power alone, which is definitely a huge consideration factor for a lot of people. Now, a cool little thing that I like here, the graphic in this display actually shows me where the torque is going. It actually shows a slipping wheel, and it applies torque. Remember, the rear axle is powered primarily by an electric motor. There is no physical connection between the first gear, or between the front drive wheels, the gas engine, and the rear axle. It's all powered by a 53 horsepower electric motor, which is allowing the RAV4 to give it kind of like true torque vectoring, kind of the same way that Teslas work. So let's test that out. I'm going to come to a stop here. You can see the road is nicely packed, full of like wet snow. I'm just going to put my foot down and see how it copes with that. You can see it's slipping. The front tires are primarily slipping, but it's appropriating power. The stability controls, traction control is pretty aggressive, but we're kind of on our way. And this is all, of course, tire limited. So if I put a better set of snow tires on this vehicle, it will probably grip for days. These Yokohama Avid GTs just aren't the best tire for these type of weather conditions. But I'm really impressed. The four-wheel drive system in this car is really good. It automatically will sense which wheel is slipping. It will brake that wheel. You'll hear it in the stability control system, the anti-lock brakes, and it will direct power to either the front or rear axle more, or side to side. So it kind of keeps you going and gives you that nice planted, secure feel, which is what people expect. I mean, if I tried this in the Supra, even with winter tires, it will surely slide around everywhere. Although with winter tires, that vehicle would brake a lot better. I wouldn't be so, freaked out to drive that vehicle in the snow. But the Prime, as you can see, I haven't used a drop of gas. It's just cruising along here in electric only mode, and that's what makes it super unique. The one thing I wish the Prime had was much stronger regen braking. Like, you can pull the paddle on this vehicle, but it doesn't actually regen the brakes. It just kind of downshifts the CVT transmission, which also forces the engine to turn on. So I don't like that. I wish Toyota gave me a feature where I could pull the paddle here or hold the paddle and give me strong regen braking, where I could have one pedal driving. So that's something that I hope Toyota considers, of course, for their next generation of EVs. But this vehicle in general, like right now, my foot's to the floor. It is has plenty of instant response. I mean, this would probably get past the Supra during those situations, because the Supra has a transmission that's got a downshift. It's got a gas engine that has to build up the revs. The Supra is obviously going to be quicker at higher speeds, or in the quarter mile, or once you have some grip and you let the gearbox and the engine catch up. But the electric motors is what gives the RAV4 that instantaneous response. And to be honest, I drive this vehicle most of the time in just EV only mode. I like the fact that it doesn't use any gas. I like the fact that it makes no noise. I can just put my foot down and it just kind of goes, which is what I want in a daily driver like this. Now I'm going to try just a standing still acceleration. This is where the road is just mostly wet, so we should be able to go full throttle. I'm going to switch over to sport mode here, which should make this vehicle accelerate and steer a little bit more enthusiastically. Foot's to the floor. Now you feel it losing power when the speeds rise, but just that instantaneous push. Now this isn't Tesla levels of acceleration, obviously, but it is very, very impressive. Now I'm going to actually switch the drive mode here to Auto EV. Remember, there's all these different drive modes in this car. There's EV only, there's HV, which stands for hybrid vehicle mode. There's also a charge hold mode, where if I want to hold the charge level in the battery, the gas engine will just come on, and it will recharge the battery slowly, but you have to have the battery down to 75% or less for it to do that. So now in this mode, if my foot goes to the floor, the gas engine will turn on. You'll hear the gas engine come on, and it will give you the full 302 horsepower versus just 177 if you don't have the gas engine on. So we'll come to a stop here. You can hear the engine idling right now. It's revving. We'll just floor it. So much faster. Wow. That is 5.5 seconds, 0 to 60, which Toyota says 5.7. I've seen Car and Driver do 5.4 with this car, 5.5. So that is impressive. This would keep up easily with a 4-cylinder Supra. The 6-cylinder that I just drove it will smoke this car. But you have to give it to Toyota for just building something like this. This is just such a cool car. And the cool thing about this thing as well, the all-wheel drive system does allow for some tail-out shenanigans. If you turn off all the nannies, I mean all the nannies, the true torque vectoring and the fact that the electric motors in the rear will give you that power, and the front will kind of know, the computer will know to let the front not give quite as much. And this thing, I got the tail to step out a few times in the snow. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do it right now because there's over a foot of snow on the ground, but let's just say that you can have some tail-out shenanigans in this car, and because the battery is mounted so low on the floor, the center of gravity is low, so all that extra weight, about 400 pounds of extra weight in this car, is bottom heavy. So it never feels like the RAV's going to tip over. I know a lot of you have probably seen the Moose test on this vehicle and how it failed the Moose test. There are a lot of vehicles that failed the Moose test. The stability control, I actually think, is very aggressive on this car. So the fact that that publication was saying that Toyota needs to make it more aggressive, I mean, in their individual tests, which I'm a little skeptical about because there are some cars that have failed that test, I personally think the RAV safety features are very, very conservative in their typical Toyota. Now if you guys look, this field here is typically where I film, and there's easily a foot of snow out here. In fact, let's actually go outside and walk this, and you guys can see just how bad the snow is. So as you can see, we have a little over a foot of snow on the ground. This field right here that I mentioned earlier is a huge empty gravel parking lot that I can usually do videos on. However, there's about a foot of snow on there, so I'm not even going to try to bring the RAV out there. I would, but it doesn't have quite enough ground clearance to deal with a foot of snow. Ooh. Okay, that's really deep. Yeah, this would be really fun though, to do some donuts out here. Sadly, they didn't plow that much, so we're not going to be able to. And of course, something like a RAV4 Prime getting in front of a Supra, you didn't think that you'd see a sight like that. Yes, it's a crossover SUV. This is a Toyota Supra. This car is going to get way more attention versus that Prime would ever be. But you know what? I want to see, can this Supra beat this RAV4 if I actually wanted to get in front of them? And when I say go, 3, 2, 1, go. as you can see, I can't even catch up to that Prime that's in front of me. That's a little embarrassing. I have to admit that.
Did you floor it?
I did floor it. I all I saw was this big cloud of smoke from your car, and I couldn't catch up.
That's hilarious. Go RAV.
All right, let's try this again. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Oh.
Well, you struggled, but you did beat me a little bit.
Okay, I didn't beat you until we got way into speeds that I'm not going to mention. That's very, very impressive, and it's kind of a sad day for the Supra 4-cylinder. And you immediately saw the electric motor torque of the RAV is just instant, whereas the Supra, I have to wait for the transmission to downshift, the turbos to spool up. Get a little slower. Yeah. Okay, wait. Okay. All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so from a lower speed, from 40 miles an hour to a speed that I won't say, the Supra is a little quicker.
Yeah. One thing I just realized, I don't have it in sport mode.
Are you serious? I wonder if that makes a difference.
Well, you can try it.
Okay, go ahead and put it in sport mode and let's see if it makes a difference. You are in auto HV mode, yes?
Yes, if you couldn't hear the CVT screaming.
I could barely hear it, but okay, let's try this again. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Ah, the Supra redemption! But the RAV is still right on my tail.
This is still really satisfying knowing that I'm in a RAV4 and you're in a Supra, and I can almost keep up with you.
I have to agree. That car truly deserves its like sleeper status because everybody looks at the Supra and wants to race you, yet nobody suspects anything from the RAV, which can beat the Supra in certain instances because of that electric motor torque. So obviously the 4-cylinder Supra will lose to the RAV in certain instances. You guys saw on the first pull, the RAV pulled away from me and I could not close the gap. You guys heard my pedal was to the floor and we weren't closing the gap. However, at lower speeds, the Supra does have an advantage, of course, from the lighter weight, significantly lighter, but the RAV will constantly get the jump on the Supra because of that instantaneous electric motor torque. So again, enthusiasts are gonna have to be watching out for that RAV because that thing will show taillights to some unsuspecting sporty cars. I mean, if you're in a Volkswagen GTI, don't even bother trying to race a RAV4 Prime. Those things are insanely quick. Now, clearly the 6-cylinder Supra is the one that most enthusiasts are going to go for. It's going to be significantly faster than this. But remember, the Supra remains a rear drive car that will have trouble putting the power down when it's cold weather and such, especially when you've got instantaneous electric motor torque, all-wheel drive grip. The RAV is definitely a car that enthusiasts better be looking at because it makes a really great daily. That blue wrapped C63 that's about to pass me looks awfully familiar.
I think it's that one that we saw in Lancaster when we went to Harvest.
Rob, don't use this footage. This is just for fun. I'm gonna see if we can get another in. Oh yeah, and he just egged me.
No.
He doesn't know it's the 4-cylinder.
What?
Supra! And that's the cool thing about the Supra is it gets attention everywhere.
That we saw at Harvest that one time.
All right, so obviously I cannot compare a 2-door rear-wheel drive BMW sports car to a Toyota RAV4 Prime. You just can't do it. They're completely different animals. So I'm going to talk about how Toyota is just sick and tired of everybody calling their cars boring. I mean, I am very guilty of calling their cars boring. I never thought in my life that I'd be buying another brand new Toyota, and I thought I'd be buying a Supra, but you know, I just had a Porsche Cayman for 2 years. I never really drove it. I love the Supra, so the fact that Toyota is offering two, you know, very, very quick cars nowadays. I mean, this Supra has almost 400 horsepower, basically 400 horsepower in German spec, because the Germans tend to underrate their power. And of course, the Prime has 302 horsepower. It can keep up with the 4-cylinder Supras, which will do 5.1 seconds to 60. The Prime does like basically 5.5. This, however, we'll get to 60 in 3.9 seconds, and it just sounds glorious every time you're going near the throttle. And keep in mind, it's about 33 degrees outside. You guys can see the snow. I'm on Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires. Toyota forgot to put some winters on this thing, so I'm gonna take it easy for the time being, but I just want to go over how much fun the Supra continues to be. This is just an amazing car that I'm really happy that Toyota built. Sure, they went to BMW, they're using a BMW platform, they're using BMW engines, BMW transmission, but the fact that Toyota put in the development money at least to add their touch on it, because let's be frank here, I actually have a BMW M440i Coupe that I'm also testing this week, and it has this same powertrain with an electrified 48-volt system, and it doesn't sound as good as this Supra. Listen to that, oh. Oh my God. Oh, that is just music to my ears. I love the sound of this engine. Now, how can Toyota make the Supra better? Well, I would love to see them do a convertible version. That's probably not going to happen. Go and buy a BMW Z4. I'd love to see a manual transmission. That could happen. You know, Toyota says if people cry enough, enthusiasts cry enough, they will consider doing a manual in the Supra. But Toyota says they promised that they're not going to let this car go stale like the previous generation Supra. They're going to keep this fresh. They're going to keep adding more to it. They're going to keep doing special variants. Of course, you can also buy the A91 package, which is a limited run Supra that only comes in blue or black. This one here is a 3-liter premium painted in this nitro yellow. The yellow is fantastic. I mean, ketchup and mustard. I didn't plan this, but Toyota just happened to send me a yellow Supra, and I have a red RAV4 Prime. Now we just need a white car for some mayonnaise. Oh. I mean, as an enthusiast, this just makes me happy to see a sports car in Toyota showrooms, because Honda's not doing a sports car right now. Well, they are for Acura, the NSX, but that's super expensive. Mazda's not doing an RX-8 right now. Nissan is going to be coming out with a 400Z soon, so that'll be a very close rival to this. But the Supra, even though it's been on sale for a couple of years now, this thing still turns heads like crazy. It breaks necks everywhere I take it. So I'm just extremely happy that this car still exists, and I want Toyota to keep doing more, because they could dip into BMW's portfolio a little bit harder and deliver a 500 horsepower Supra with the M engine. Although I think they need to consider adding all-wheel drive to this thing if they're going to do it. But from its direct communicative steering to its relatively compliant ride quality, you could daily drive this car, to the noises it makes, to the way it corners, the way it handles, the way the back end of this thing just likes to step out. I'm just in love with this car. And I'm just super happy that Toyota offers a sports car again. So while the Supra is technically still the quicker vehicle, you have to admit, I was really surprised by the outcome of these two vehicles. I wasn't expecting the RAV to pull away from the Supra quite as hard as it did. And really, it's just a shocker to me, because the Supra is the kind of car that's always going to get the kind of attention that an enthusiast wants. Everywhere I drove this car, even though it's been on the market for a few years now, it got a lot of stares everywhere I took it. And it kind of shows you that Toyota did a good job with the design of this car. Yes, it's still a BMW underneath. Yes, it still gets a lot of hate out on the internet. But for those of you who actually have a chance to drive one, it's still a really fantastic deal, especially that one there is the new 4-cylinder. It starts at around $43,000. This one here with the technology or assistance package is around $47,000. Now it brings me over to the RAV4 Prime, because this is obviously my personal car. So I'm gonna try to keep this as unbiased as possible. This Prime over here, I bought it for $50,635. It's practically the same price as the Supra because I added a couple of options to it. But really, what the Prime is a representation of where Toyota is heading, because Toyota has always been the leader in terms of hybrid technology. They've always done hybrids really well, and the Prime is the first plug-in hybrid SUV that the company has done, and I think they've done a fantastic job with it. Now, obviously, in the perfect world, you'd probably have both of these vehicles. You'd have the Supra to drive on weekends, and you'd have the Prime to drive on your daily commute to and from work, to do errands on longer trips, because that car will go almost 600 miles of range. But really, it surprises me, it shocks me how Toyota is actually building vehicles that cater to enthusiasts. I mean, some brands have kind of walked away from that, but Toyota, even though they went to BMW for the Supra, I'm just happy that it exists. There's rumors of a more powerful Supra. There's rumors of a manual transmission Supra that's coming soon. And of course with the Prime, for those of you who own a Tesla or an all-electric car and you want something that'll go 600 miles of range, yet offers a 0 to 60 performance in the mid 5-second range that's sleeper status, because there's so many Primes out there, yet Toyota has trouble selling these. If you guys are actually trying to get your hands on one of these Primes, good luck finding them, because a lot of dealers are charging over sticker for them right now because of the high demand and low supply. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video showcasing, of course, the 2 quickest accelerating Toyotas the company has to offer right now. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.